Millim by Gajeel0828 Preparation. Rimuru wakes up to Millim touching his face. He smiles and grabs her hand. Sleep well, Millim. She smiles and nods. After sitting there for a moment, they get up and look towards the sunrise. They then head back to town to get something to eat. On their way they run into Geld. Morning, Lord Rimuru and Lady Millim. Morning, Geld. They both say together. Oh, by the way, the diner is being repaired because they partied a little too hard last night after you left. Millim was really disappointed hearing this. But then Geld offers some of the snacks he brought. Millim and Rimuru didn't want to take his food. Worry not, I brought extra because I usually share with the kids who come by. Millim gets excited and gratefully accepts his offer. They decide to eat with Geld before he gets to work. Millim takes her time enjoying all the snacks. Geld smiles at this until Rimuru says, I never would have thought you would be such a caring person. I honestly never liked violence and I always cared for life, but under the circumstances I had to follow a route that went against what I wanted. But thanks to you we can follow a better path. Rimuru blushes and before he can say anything Geld stood up and said, well, it's time for me to get to work. I appreciate y'all eating with me. He smiles, bows and heads to work. Millim stands waving to Geld saying thanks for the snack. Geld turns, smiles and waves. Rimuru stands and smiles thinking of how well everything is progressing until Millim grabs his hand. How do you find such good subordinates? Rimuru smiles, unsure how to answer. But before he could say anything, Benimaru appears and asked if he can have a word with him. He looks to Millim, but the Millim says, don't worry, I'm gonna go talk to Shuna about a new set of cloths. Just come find me when you're done. Rimuru smiles and says, okay Millim, see you soon. Benimaru and Rimuru head off to talk when Millim bolts off to see Shuna. She arrives at her workshop to see Shuna working on something. What you doing? Millim says, catching Shuna off guard. Oh hey Lady Millim, you startled me. What can I do for you? Oh, I was looking for a new set of cloths that will surprise Rimuru. Shuna gets excited thinking, yes, I get to test outfits on a demon lord. She then shows her to the dressing room and says she will be back with the outfits. As Millim's waiting, she thinks of how things would be if Rimuru became a demon lord. Yay, we wouldn't have to hide our relationship, but that would give him more things to do, which would be less time for them to have together. Maybe it's better this way. Before she could continue this thought, Shuna comes in with quite a few outfits. The first one she tries on is a pink kimono with flowers on it. Her eyes light up, but then ask to see the next one. After trying on all, she decided to wear a black skirt and a white hottie with Rimuru's slime form on it. Soon after, they hear the door open when Rimuru comes in. Millim runs and jumps on Rimuru, hugging him. I like the outfit, Millim, it looks great on you. Really, you think? Twirling to give Rimuru a better view. Absolutely stunning. Millim smiles and gives Rimuru another big hug. I'll tell her tomorrow. Rimuru thought. They both wave goodbye to Shuna as they head out. It's about time for lunch. I wonder if the diner is in order. Let's stop by and see. They make their way to the diner to see some orcs finishing up the last bit of repairs. The head cook invites them in since repairs were basically done. They accept the offer and head inside to eat. They order, but for some reason there's an awkward silence. Nothing is said while they eat, but when they finish, Rimuru recommends a new dish. Millim agreed with no hesitation, excited thinking of what it could be. After the dish arrived, Millim asked if Rimuru was hiding something. Rimuru was shocked that Millim picked up on it. Oh, it's nothing important, just preparation for an upcoming battle. Huh? Battle? With who? A demon lord? I'll help. The dryads informed me that Charitas was revived. They asked me to take it on if I could. I can take it on for you. Thank you, Millim, but this is my fight. Your fights are mine. I can't let you take that on alone. I could easy. I know, Millim, but let me have this fight. If I can't win, I'll rely on you, okay? He interrupted, smiling while patting her head. Millim sighed and agreed. But if something happens, call me immediately, Millim demanded. Rimuru smiled and agreed. Well, let's go prepare for the upcoming fight. Will you train with me? Huh? Me? Yes, with an opponent as strong as you, I'm sure to grow stronger, and it gives us more time together. And you seem like you'd enjoy a good challenge. Ch8. Good night. The match went on for only a few minutes before Rimuru got overwhelmed by Millim's attacks. But Rimuru refuses to give up so quickly. He tells Great Sage to focus on defending and he will focus on attacking. He then rushes Millim, catching her off guard, grazing her arm. She smiles at this. You're the first one in a while to actually land a hit on me without me letting you. I am quite impressed, though there wasn't enough power in it. Rimuru, completely out of breath, laughed and said, let's take a break for a minute. Huh, we just started, come on. Millim, I brought some cookies. Huh, nope, we need to continue. Trying her hardest to resist the cookies. Fine, I guess I'll eat them myself. Rimuru takes a bite. Millim tackles him, landing on top of him. Rimuru lies there looking up at Millim with a cookie in his mouth. She blushes and leans down and bites the cookie. She sits up, still blushing. Fine, just a small break, okay. Rimuru smiles and sits up with Millim still on top of him. He pulls her closer and then kisses. Okay, just a small break. Millim's face lights up bright red, completely speechless. But she eventually calms down and begins to eat with Rimuru. Some time passes before Millim jumps up and says, okay. It's time to get started again. Rimuru agrees and they get ready to go again. Like the first time, Rimuru doesn't stand much of a chance, but with Great Sage on defense he can attack more often. The sparring match lasts a lot longer because of this, but eventually Rimuru takes a blow to the stomach and is sent flying into a tree. Millim rushes to him and checks on him. She started crying and apologizing, thinking he was badly hurt or mad at her. But he pulls her in and hugs her. It's okay, Millim, I am alright. It's not okay, I got carried away. You were trying to help me, Millim, it's fine. They sit there for a while until Millim falls asleep in his arms. He smiles and picks her up and begins to head back home because it was getting late. On his way back, everything is quiet. I guess everyone is preparing. Rimuru thought. He proceeded, eventually making it to his room, and runs into Shuna. Lord Rimuru, I have prepared your room for you. Thanks. Shuna gets some sleep. Good night, Lord Rimuru. Good night. Rimuru took Millim into the room and laid her in his bed and pulled the covers over her. He headed to the couch until Millim grabbed his coat. He turns to see Millim blushing. Will you stay with me? He smiles and gets in bed next to her. Of course, I'll stay with you. The morning comes and Millim is the first to wake. She hears knocking at the door. It's Shein. Lord Rimuru, there's a meeting you must attend. Millim sat up and lets out a big yawn, which woke up Rimuru. Sorry, did I wake you? It's okay, I need to be up anyway. As he sits up and yawns. Sleep well, Rimuru. Great, what about you? Same, she said with a huge smile. Oh, Shein said you had a meeting. Huh? Oh yay. He quickly gets ready and kisses Millim on the head. See you in a bit. He then heads out. After a little while, Millim stood and got ready to go grab some breakfast. She runs into Shuna on her way to the kitchen. Morning, Shuna. Morning, Lady Millim. She says while letting out a yawn. Did you get some sleep last night? Not too much, I kept hearing something most of the night. Oh yay. Millim said nervously. Well, let's go get some breakfast. Come on. Dragging Shuna along. They make it to the kitchen when Shuna asked what she would like to eat. Anything you could would be great, Shuna. After a while she decides to cook Millim something sweet. Millim enjoys herself. Millim and Shuna talk for a while before heading to the meeting with snacks and drinks. They make it to the meeting, bring the food and drinks. She sees an unfamiliar face among the groups but ignores it and goes and sits behind Rimuru. They discuss the arrival of Charybdis. They have only a few days left before its arrival and they know they have to be fully prepared. The meeting ends after a while and Millim notices the new guy talking to Millim. She thinks about eavesdropping, but she notices him bow and takes his leave. She's quite curious on who he was. She then looks to Rimuru and heads up to him. She stands at his side and grabs his hand. So I am guessing we're gonna have to get back to training. Yay, we're gonna have to train even harder. We're almost out of time and I am not strong enough yet. She kisses him on the cheek and heads to the door and turns to Rimuru. Well, let's go, she says with a smile.